Hello, welcome back to the Dixie Belle YouTube channel. I'm Connie from Faff Designs, and today we're going to be painting something that's already painted. These have got a factory finish on them, and you might think you've got to strip that off before you can paint them, but you'd be wrong. Yes, there are occasions where that factory finish may need to be stripped off, especially if it's in poor condition. However, most times that I've picked up factory finish pieces, the finish has been absolutely fine. And as long as it's in good condition and it's not chipped or cracked or peeling, you can absolutely paint over it. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, because these are absolutely filthy, is give them a good clean with Dixie Belle's White Lightning. I don't usually recommend using a hose on your furniture. However, we had a very hot day in the UK, and that rattan panel on the bottom shelf had a lot of dust and dirt trapped in it, so I just blasted it out with a hose, and while I was there I rinsed the White Lightning cleaner off them. Cleaning is the most important step to your furniture painting projects. Sanding isn't necessary, especially with the primer that I'm using. However, I did give them a quick sand because they had some dings on the top. The primer that I'm using is Dixie Belle's Bond Emboss. This is what is going to let your paint stick to that factory finish. So a factory finish is usually quite glossy and shiny, and most paints don't like sticking to it. So this primer is an adhesion primer. You've noticed I also primed the top because it's a stain blocking primer as well. So it's perfect for this project, which is a combination of factory finish and wooden finishes. The colour that I'm using is Dixie Belle's Chalk Mineral Paint in the shade Vintage Duck Egg. This is a really pretty shade. I don't use it enough. Every time I use it, I think I should use this more. And I wanted to give these a little bit of a country cottage vibe. So that's the reason I've gone with this particular colour. Nice and light and bright and breezy, but not too kind of pale and neutral, because I don't really do neutrals an awful lot. As you've noticed as well, I've taped off that rattan panel because I am a little bit of a messy painter, so I don't want to get any paint splashed onto that. So I'm just using a little spritz of tap water here and there in my continuous mister bottle, just to make sure the paint goes on nice and smooth. I did 2 coats of this, and then I'm going to use the Whitewash Glaze. This is a water-based glaze, and it just gives you a kind of whitewash finish over your paint. So I'm just going to work in small areas, which means it's not going to dry down too quickly. You can seal your piece first using a water-based top coat and then apply your glaze, or you can go straight over the top of your chalk mineral paint, as long as it's dry, straight over the top with the glaze. They do give slightly different results. I haven't sealed my piece, so I'm going straight over the top of Vintage Duck Egg, and then before the glaze has had a chance to dry, I'm just going to remove the excess, which is just going to give me a pretty whitewash effect and gives a little bit of softness or a bit of a beachy, cottagey vibe, depending on the piece that you're working on and the colours that you've used to your piece. If you seal your piece first before using glaze, your glaze won't be as obvious. You can pull more back and have a little bit more control over it. If you go straight over the top of your chalk mineral paint, as I'm doing, you may get a slightly more concentrated look to your glaze, because it's just going to grip on to that chalk paint finish, and it just gives you a slightly different effect. So like I say, I'm working in very small areas here because you don't want your glaze to dry before you've had a chance to remove it. And this glaze comes in loads of different colours. I'm just using a whitewash effect over the top of this one because I think it'll look really pretty paired with the blue. Once I've done all the necessary painting to the nightstands, I took off the protective bit over the rattan. I'm also going to paint the interior of the drawers because they were not in the best condition and they were quite dirty as well. So again, I used Bond Emboss on the interior, 2 coats of that, let it completely dry for 24 hours, and then I'm going to use silk. So if I'm ever painting on the interior of a piece, I don't want to be top coating that, so I use silk because it's got a built-in top coat. It's very durable for the interior of drawers and cabinets, and this is the shade Deep Sea. To finish these pieces off, I'm going to use clear coat in flat on the tops of these pieces to give some durability and protection. Clear coat is Dixie Belle's water-based top coat, and it comes in flat, satin and gloss depending on the sheen level that you want. And I'm just applying it with my Dixie Belle synthetic brush, and then once I've got a thin layer, I just like to lay it off, which means just pass your bristles over the top of your clear coat in one direction, which promotes it to lie nice and flat and gets rid of any brush strokes. And then for the rest of the nightstands, I'm just going to use Best Dang Wax in clear, and I applied this using a blue sponge. Here's a few close-ups of the finished look. You can just see the softness that the glaze gives this colour. It gives a really pretty kind of cottagey or beachy effect depending on which way you look at it. As always, if you want to check out any of the products that I've used in the video, there is a link in the description below where you can find everything that I've used today. Thank you for watching. As always, make sure you are subscribed to the Dixie Belle YouTube channel, and I will catch you next time.